Ready? All right. We will call courts and public safety to order. If I could have a roll call, please.
Mr. Erickson?
Here.
Mr. McCormick?
Here.
Mr. Hardy?
Here.
Mr. Walker?
Here.
Mr. Beggs?
Here. With that, I'll entertain a motion to approve minutes from September 12th.
I'll make that motion, Hardy.
Support Walker.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Good. Any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Support.
All right, don't fight,
You pick,
boys.
Amy.
We practice this.
All support of Mr.
We practice this.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same? Any public comment? Thank you for joining us this morning. Any public comment? All right, very good. Mr. Harriman, we got EMS quarterly report.
All right, well, good morning.
Morning.
Mr. Stockton
Good
was
morning, Jim.
once again out deer hunting this time of year.
That's fair.
I expect he'll be here for the next quarter. But thank you for having us. A few big things happened this quarter that we're happy to report on. First of all, we completed 748 transports and on-scene assessments for the quarter. It is a little bit of a bump from last year, not a huge change, but it was up by 32 compared to the same time period last year. It's interesting, I'm seeing similar numbers in our other counties as well. A little bit of a bump across our urban areas. So, don't have a good explanation on the increase. It's not a huge increase where it's affecting anything, but it's something we are keeping an eye on. I thought that was interesting because it's very similar to what we're seeing elsewhere. We did have a couple of special events that we covered in the last quarter. One was a Touch a Truck event held at the Woodland Shores Campground. They invited us to, and we were able to accommodate that, which we enjoy doing those events as well. And then we also had a crew attend the National Night Out held at the Shelby Township Park. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it to that because of other obligations, but I've gotten a lot of great feedback about that event for the first time of having that event. I understand it's very well attended and very successful. So we do look forward to being a part of that in years to come as well. One of the big things is, probably the biggest news, is our ferry station. It's been in the planning stages for a long time, and that building has just been completed. It's located on M20. It's at the corner of M20 and 128 on the northeast corner. That building was finished up towards the end of October, and we started staffing that with a crew on October 28th. So we're very happy about that. Very happy with how the building turned out. The contractor did a great job for us. It's a really nice facility. I have had a couple of questions pop up of how are we staffing that? Are we adding people? Are we closing the Shelby station? Some things like that have came up. So just to clarify, in the past, we've always staffed 3 crews 24/7. We continue to do that. So we housed 2 crews at the Hart Station and 1 at Shelby in the past. So what we've done is moved one of those Hart crews to the ferry station. So our current staffing model is 1 crew at Hart, 1 at Shelby, and 1 at Ferry, just to kind of spread them out geographically instead of having 2 crews right on top of each other at one location. We anticipate this will really help with our response times in the eastern part of Oceana County. We're pretty excited about that. So we'll be keeping an eye on the data, and it'll be interesting the next few quarters to kind of see the effect that has. I would also like to invite everyone here to an open house that we are having today. Hopefully you've received a little bit of information on that. I messaged with Mr. Walker last night. We're thinking probably around 1 o'clock, but whenever your meeting's done here, please head on over, and we've got a light lunch and some snacks. We'd love to have you folks over for a little bit of a tour of that station. Please come if you're able to make that. Next big thing that's been in the works for a long time as well is we just purchased new heart monitors. Our goal is to get them in every ambulance company-wide. That is the plan. They're being rolled out in our northern counties, including Oceana and the Kalamazoo area first. And then we're anticipating rolling those out in our Grand Rapids and eastern areas sometime next year. So pretty excited that our northern ops was included, and we're kind of on the leading edge of that and getting these first. They're really a state-of-the-art monitor. We found out that we're the first ambulance service in the entire world to have these on our ambulances, which is pretty neat. And that's kind of the result of a relationship we have with Stryker Medical. That company is based, their world headquarters is in Kalamazoo. And we worked together, kind of a partnership for many years with Stryker Medical, with the research and development team. They'll host us to come down and give feedback on new products and things like that. So they wanted to include us and give us the opportunity to have those first, which was pretty neat. They're really state-of-the-art. We had our trainings a little over a week ago. All of our folks have been trained on those. I missed a couple of part-time people that were catching up yet, but the majority of our folks have been trained on them. Some of the features I could talk for hours on, and I'm not going to bore you guys with that, but just some of the highlights, like a traditional AED, if you guys have seen those operate, it says get your hands off the patient, it'll analyze their heart rhythm. There's kind of a long pause there, then it will charge up, and then you can push a shock button. With the new technology on these, they've able to design the software so it'll actually analyze that heart rhythm while you're continuing to do CPR. It eliminates that long pause while it analyzes. And it's been shown that the less pauses, less interruptions in CPR is tied to improved survival rates. So that's a pretty big deal to eliminate those pauses. So we can do CPR on a person while it's analyzing. It'll actually charge up while we're doing CPR. The only pause is when you have to stop and hit the shock button. So that in itself is a huge feature. It comes with many other features. I'll just highlight a couple. One is when we look at EKGs, so somebody having a heart problem or chest pain, we do a 12-lead EKG. It's like they do in the hospital in the ER. We do the same thing in the ambulance. This gives us the addition to actually do a 15-lead EKG, which is just more views that we can see of the heart muscle. It helps us to identify more types of heart attacks and it kind of narrows down more to what areas of the heart are having a problem. So that's a pretty neat thing. It's the first device on the market to really do that I'm aware of. So that's a pretty neat thing. And then one more thing I want to touch on that's in the works is it has the capability to live stream from a patient's house or even roadside to the hospital, which is a great feature. So we could actually, it has the potential, so we could actually live stream the EKG and the patient's vital signs, in theory, to a cardiologist phone in Grand Rapids or Muskegon. No matter where they're at, they can pull it up on their phone and actually see what we're seeing out in the field, which is pretty amazing. Part of that, one component is the hospitals do have to install and use that software on their end to make that happen. So it's not currently available. I mean, the software is, but we're working with the hospitals. We have meetings with Trinity and Corewell Health both, where we've invited them in to see a demonstration of the capabilities of this, and we're really hoping that they will buy in and partner with us on that. But there's more to come on that in the future. It's in the works. So not a guarantee that we'll have that with the hospitals. I would hope that they would buy in with us because of the capabilities are there. And I think that would be huge to be able to connect right to a cardiologist or an ER doctor and share that information. So something we continue to work on. And I would hope and expect that will happen. So a lot of neat features. I did bring one. We'll have one at the ferry station as well. I won't go into detail, but this is what it looks like. It's pretty similar in size to our other units, but a lot more features. Has touch screen capability. It's been in research and development for about 10 years. It's not something they kind of threw together in a couple of year time period. It's been in the works for a very long time. One of the things in our training they talked about was the touch screen. We're a little concerned if it's raining. I know how it is on my phone, if it's raining or cold. The touch screen on that is something that Stryker designed themselves and have a patent on. They said as part of the demonstration, you can put a glove or two gloves on your hand, put it in ice water for a minute, and hold it up, and that screen will work perfectly. So pretty neat. It's been thoroughly tested. So that's just kind of, I wanted to touch base on a few things on that because it is kind of a big deal. It's a multi-million-dollar purchase for our company and a big investment into Oceana County as well. I'm hoping to have those on our ambulances sometime towards the end of next week. We're kind of in the testing phases right now, and if everything goes well, we'll get those on the trucks very soon. Just a couple other things. As far as fire standbys, we did have a few requests. We had 10 requests for fire standbys. We did a little over 13 hours of coverage. Fortunately, we didn't have any firefighters that we needed to treat and transport, so I'm always happy to report that. And then as far as the data side, you should have that in your packets as well. We completed the response time order for priority 1 calls in 15 minutes or less with 88% compliance. And then there's a detailed breakdown in your packet as well. Of any calls that exceeded our normal response time requirements. And I guess with that, I'd be happy to try to take any questions.
I see all the exemptions out east. Will ferry help that now?
I would expect that it will.
It's-
Yes, a lot, most, not all, but there's a large amount of distance exemptions. That's when it's greater than 15 miles from a station.
Oh, I see Colfax,
And-
Newfield, Levitt,
Yeah.
they're getting pounded out there.
It should have a pretty significant impact. Again, I'm really excited to kind of see the data now that we're
Now
staffing
we'll-
that,
yeah.
to see what that looks like in the future quarters. But I would expect that that should have a pretty good impact. in
We're
those
just
areas, the
weak out
eastern
in
part.
Colfax again. We're always gonna be weak out in Colfax.
There's just some areas that are so remote that, we just, because of distance and geography, it is hard to get to them quick.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would hope that.
I would just say on that, I'm glad to hear you guys be watching that data. My big concern about the ferry station with pulling a unit out of Hart is Hart and Shelby are the population centers. So just statistically, they have more calls. So it'd be interesting to see it pulling that unit out of the population center. It may improve the eastern response, but will the central and western responses suffer? But the data will tell us that.
Exactly, and Jeff and I have had that same exact discussion. That is something we're aware of and that we will be watching closely because we have the same thoughts and concerns.
Sure.
I think the main area where we would see that would be summertime.
Right.
With the dunes being
Yeah.
busy.
Right.
We've had those discussions, so we will watch that. Now, we do run system status, which will help, which means we move trucks around during the day until 10 p.m. at night, then we kind of slow that down a bit to give crews rest.
Right.
But during the daytime, we do move trucks around to the more population-centered areas to give us the best coverage.
You may find
We'll
there's
continue to do
a
that.
seasonal shift in that too, so,
Yeah,
where the ferry station maybe for 9 months out of the year is well placed, but 3 months out of the year, it puts people out of pocket, but.
and yeah, it's a good possibility, and that's where the data is gonna drive a lot of these decisions. We take the approach of this is a starting point, and we have the responding lines drawn and stuff, but we know that things are subject to change based on the data, so.
So then how many do we have in Mason County? Just the 2 still?
Mason County is staffed during the day, during our peak hours, which would be 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. We staff 3 ambulances in Mason
Now it's
County.
3, yeah.
Yeah, we've had that for quite some time. And then in the evening hours and night hours, when the volume slows down, we drop down to 2 trucks.
In Lake?
Lake County has 2 ambulances on 24 hours a day. And then Newaygo County, we have, with our peak trucks on, we have 4.
Yeah, because the same problem in Mason County, they've only got, well, now there's 3, but it's the lake again. And any Ruby Creek call is on this exemption list. So, thank you.
Thank you guys for your support.
Jim, you have 2 or 3 stations in Lake County.
We have 2 stations in Lake County. We have one right in the village of Baldwin. The other is located on M37 towards the Irons area. It's north of Baldwin.
And then how about Mason County?
Mason County, we have 2 stations as well. One is in Ludington, where we house 2 crews, and then the other is in Scottville, just north of Scottville.
Right on the big curve.
Yep.
When you look at the big picture, that's a lot of hardware and a lot of personnel.
And a lot of acres.
A lot of
acres.
A lot of ground to cover.
And you can get lost out east pretty easy too.
A lot of you can't get there from here.
There's a lot of way around.
A lot of truth to that. We look at Walkerville, that area going from Ferry, there's not a straight shot.
Yeah.
It's,
You gotta go
look at
through
the
the
geography of things.
the
and
Walkinshaw.
challenge.
throw some weather into it and, it's
Yeah, you get some icy roads in the mix, and
wind-blown fields.
but I do thank you guys for your support. We couldn't do it without the support of this group. So appreciate that.
Anything else for Jim? Great. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
I look forward to seeing you out there this afternoon.
Sheriff says you wanted you to hook that up to him and give us a demonstration.
That'd be great.
Looking for a little wake-up call this morning, huh? Under Sheriff Schiller said he'd like to hit the button. All right, let me get back to my agenda here and get off course pretty easy. Yeah, department head reports. Any department heads? Michelle?
I'm gonna be him today. He's always first up.
It's all yours, Michelle.
I just wanted to, acknowledge, John Warner's service to our county for the last 8 years. And, you know, with his engineering expertise, he's been vital in helping, the road commission with their projects, Parks and Rec, you know, assisting landowners and contractors with, stormwater management issues. And, especially with the drain office and helping get electronic filing set up and drain maintenance. And as the sheriff's department, he wasn't afraid to get into the middle of the drains with a chainsaw and hot run and work through. So both in the office and on the field, he aided the advancement of my office. So I truly appreciate him, and I wanted to invite you to come down to Piece of Cake and wish him farewell next Friday between 10 and 3. And you can also introduce yourselves to Brandon McDougall, his replacement, which
Yeah.
that's nice. So that's all I had.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm later on the agenda.
Oh, jeez.
Special today, yeah. Real special.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Beach Management's been busy with our active assailant training for the county and the courthouse. We did 4 sessions. Deputy Phillips and myself there was very well attended. We did basic training like we've done in the past couple of years. And we also integrated an advanced training, which was more hands-on of how to basically barricade yourself in. It seemed to go over real well. And with that being said, next year we're going to include Stop the Bleed. So if you ever look around the buildings where the AEDs are above that, it says trauma kit. In there are tourniquets and Stop the Bleed stuff. We're going to do an actual Stop the Bleed trainings incorporated in as part of that active assailant training for next year. That way we're not giving them the same stuff and they're getting so bored all the time that it's giving them useful information they can use not only here at work but at home with their families and friends. We've also been very busy with the sheriff's office and dispatch working on a 2-county school incident notification process. It's still in development. We're moving pretty quickly with that, but it's a way to work with the school systems when an incident going on within the schools, that the superintendents know what's going on. And since we have so many kids that live here but go to school in Mason County and vice versa, working between the two since we share the dispatch center, so it's quite a big lift to make it happen. But real kudos to Ray Hassel because he's been kind of initiating the drive on that. And we got a big meeting coming up here this month between the 2 counties and all the superintendents and the school districts for that to try to get that wrapped up and going. So we have a formalized plan, and when an incident goes on, how do we notify the people so they're not left in the dark? I think that's becoming the superintendents. So it's been very, very time consuming. Also, per Mr. Walker's request, I did start tracking the MFR responses like they talked about. And I can tell you for third quarter, our numbers are all in. We had 306 priority 1s, 59 priority 2s, and 85 priority 3 calls in third quarter. So I can give you that report if you'd like quarterly. That's how we track it through invoicing. Quarterly reports, excellent report.
Any questions or comments from Mr. Malone?
My concern goes back a long ways on when asking about the number of priority 1 and priority 2 and priority 3s. And it comes down now with all the first responders that we have, we be able to fund priority 3 runs. You know, it's just something that we're gonna have to take a serious look at sometime.
And right now, not all of them are running 1, 2s, and 3s. Hart, for example, just runs party 1s and 2s and 3s upon request. Shelby runs 1s and 2s and 3s upon request. So, you know, those do slow that down a little, but I can tell you, looking at Hart and Shelby's numbers, if they ran everything, we would probably be having that exact conversation. You talk about the numbers would be pretty excessive.
Unfortunately, even with something as serious as medicals, we have to have the finances to pay for it.
So I'll continue to track that data, and I'll report that quarterly unless you want it done differently.
How does Walkerville fit in the MFR runs?
Walkerville had 29 priority 1s, 4 priority 2s, and 17 priority 3s.
So that's how important that MFR is out east.
It's important everywhere, because as Jim was stating about the CPR, it's your fire departments that are doing that CPR, not the ambulance. So that tiered response to the first responders getting there, the MFRs getting there, then the advanced life support transporter getting there. That's how the systems are designed across the nation to work, because your local responders are just closer.
The police departments are also doing those.
Yeah, we're seeing more and more of that, which is great, and we welcome that. They're available, and so we're happy to see that. There was one anomaly, which I want to point out in case you ever hear about it. For a grant, they had 39 priority 1s, 27 priority 2s, and 44 priority 3s, which is absolutely upside down for everybody else's. But I wanted to know it's because they have a care facility. The King Home is in their area, and it is a producer of those type of low acuity calls. And that's just, if anybody,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what was causing it.
the King Home. So any group homes, any care facilities like that will drive your numbers up. If another one of us had one of those in our area, any one of you would have a higher of those lower numbers of the assistant calls. So that's just an anomaly. When I looked at it, it stood out quite a high number compared to everybody else's.
Yep.
If I may, for that, is it a lift assist primarily, or?
Yeah, I did bring the whole breakdown of it. So when they send me in the invoices, it's all right down to, and I look at every single one to make sure it is a billable call, that it's not a dumpster fire they slid in there or whatever. It says what it's a lift assist, assist invalid, difficulty breathing, chest pain, seizure. So all that's in there. Looking at those going through them, your priority 2s, priority 2 calls usually end up in transport. So they really, 1s and 2s can almost be lumped together, because majority of the statistics, and Jim can confirm that the 2s end up in transports. 3s are where your lift assist and those types of more general stuff. But Life does track how many of those also end up in transport. So.
Thank you.
I had one thought while you're talking about stop and bleed. Do any of our county vehicles have blow-up kits?
Every one of them.
Do they? Okay. The maintenance truck.
Oh, the maintenance trucks, yeah, they
Animal
have.
control.
I don't know if I got the animal control yet. Do you know, Ryan? If not, I have one for them.
Okay.
It's the whole kit that we got through a regional grant, so all 13 counties in Region 6 got the exact same kits.
Good.
So no matter who's coming in to help us in a major event, everybody has the same kits, where things are in the same pockets, everybody knows where they're at.
Yeah.
And each one of those kits has got 2 tourniquets and 2 stop to bleed kits, so it's designed to handle 2 patients per kit. I know SROs have them in their vehicles, and so we are also looking at more coming in on the 2023 RAP cleanup grant, for Homeland Security grant, and that will be some more, which we'll get into some of the first responders, because a lot of our medical first responders go correct, they have the stuff they need, but all these kits right now are on fire trucks and rescue trucks, so we're trying to get them in the more of the hands of that, but it's basically the same exact stuff that's in our kits here in the cabinets.
Great. Yeah, just like maintenance or
Got maintenance.
drains out,
Yeah.
run chainsaws. And
So the grant specifically says it has to go in emergency first responders. So, however, there is a higher risk to that, where if they're assigned to me, and then my office doesn't assign them out to them.
Great.
Because I think it's important. Maintenance is using tools and all kinds of stuff, chainsaws and regular saws. I think it's important that they have that stuff.
Great. Anything else?
Troy, for the county's purpose, If you see a county department that's not covered and you don't have it, please bring that to us and we will take care of that problem.
Okay.
We will make sure that our county vehicles that you think need them, have them. It's a life and death thing, just bring it to us.
No, I think the other one that would qualify is Michelle's office. As you said, John, we're running the chainsaw and cleaning things up. I do have those, like I said, I know it's kind of a loophole that the grant says you have to put them in emergency vehicles, so they're assigned to emergency management, and then I have paperwork that assigns them out, because I think it's important, as you're saying, make sure they're in those proper areas.
Well, and
They don't do anything on a shelf.
yeah, but if we don't know who needs them, we can't take care of it. And I know you do the best you can, but when you run out of them, let us know if somebody else needs
No
them.
problem. Yeah, and let me know too, like, just like you guys have brought up, I think that's a great, maintenance and maintenance does have them. Road commission's looking at purchasing the exact same kits.
You know, one thing that comes to my mind, because Joel and I were just there, we should probably have something like that at our transfer station, just because of the things they handle out there. You know, and some training with them, you know, on how to use them. Wouldn't you think, Joel, that'd be
Yeah, you got a lot of exposure there, really.
Yeah, and those are the same, we can do the same thing, just Ziploc, instead of putting them in the backpacks like we have for the regional grant. The ones that are in the boxes in here above the ADs, literally, they're just in a giant heavy-duty Ziploc bag with that same, basically same ingredients in it, so we can duplicate that. Yeah, each one of those kits, there's a couple $100 worth of stuff in there.
It's just, it makes sense if somebody has a trainer. I mean, I keep one in my truck, I carry some of that stuff daily. My shop has one, like, it's just, the ability for a civilian to get that training and have that equipment on hand is just so easy. There's no good reason not to have it available.
You know, and Tim, with all the miles that I drive, I have one in my truck, and in the 50 years that I've been driving back and forth to the Western UP, I bet I know there's several fatal accidents, and there's a lot of serious things that you come across when you're driving that many miles.
Yep.
So when we do stop the bleed in Active Center, we'll make sure that we invite people from the transfer station to come in from that too, and same with animal control and all that. So, that's good too. Okay. Anything else?
Good work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Troy.
Any other department heads?
Good morning.
Mark?
Morning, everyone. I just wanted to come this morning and talk a little bit about some staffing proposal that I talked to Tracy about. Do you want me to do this now, right?
That's fine.
Yeah. We're having a retirement in a couple of weeks, and we had one guy leave here a month ago for another agency. So we're kind of just continuing that staffing discussion, and we have a local guy who's a good candidate that we felt like. We've interviewed him a couple of times, trying to get him through the hurdles and the process of being able to go to the police academy. So my proposal to Ms. Byard was to do what we did last winter this time, is to sponsor a young man through the police academy using the Public Safety Assistance Grant and the Michigan Works funding. So pairing those two funding vehicles together, there is a net cost to the county to the tune of about $9,300 to put somebody through the school and to get them ready by end of May 2025. Last year when we tried this, it was the first time it had been done really across the state. It was new to the whole state. It was familiar back in the mid-70s. Is that right, Mr. Walker? Somewhere in there? The sponsoring recruits through academies. It was popular in the mid-70s. I wouldn't say popular, but it was done in the mid-70s, and then it dried up and went away forever.
When Paris came in with their program in '72, that shut all of that down. It was
There you
before
go.
that, because
Early
Paris,
70s.
it was in the late '60s, and, you know, after the training came in, you know, they sponsored a lot of them, but then when Paris, and just as a sidelight, you know, I don't know if you and the sheriff are aware of this, I haven't had a chance to talk to you. When I went to the 50th anniversary of the Criminal Justice Institute at Paris, and as you know, I was in the first graduating class, but don't tell anybody that. But Ferris this year has 9 students in a track program for certification as police officers.
Yeah.
And the discussion was these programs where they can get the fast track in like you're talking about, which I'm all in favor of, has really taken a beating on the other corrections. They have lots of them, people going through.
Yeah.
And there's a task force being pulled together from local officials to look at that at Ferris. You know, and I'm glad that you're talking to the board about this, Ryan, and I don't mean to interrupt you.
Sure, no, you're fine.
But Tracy brought that up to me, and I told Tracy that is, with our policy on employees and replacement of employees when somebody leaves, that the administrator has the authority to authorize departments to fill those vacancies. It used to be they all had to come to the board. We don't do that anymore. We haven't done it for years. I would think that with these grants available to put them through the training program, the fast track, that we should just include that for your agency, for people that you're hiring for the road. Just let us know you're doing it. But I don't think you should have to come back for approval for all of that. You know, it's a replacement of an employee, and I think the sheriff and it should just be able to do that himself. How do the other board members feel about it?
Yeah.
Just let us know what's going on.
Yeah, happy to do that.
It's one more step in there, but I think it'd make it a lot quicker for you.
Sure.
You know, if you've got a deadline to get somebody in, and it's the right person, don't wait for a meeting to get them in. Just make it happen.
Appreciate that. I told Ms. Byard, I said I felt like I was getting the cart a bit ahead of the horse on this deal because I knew we didn't have this meeting until today. And so all that to say, I just wanted to come and kind of share kind of where we're at and get your feedback. Like Mr. Walker said, it is, West Shore is in the same boat as Ferris, obviously, probably even less, but recruitment's still a thing. It's still a challenge. And as we often talk in this room about hiring, you know, our own young people, while we welcome people to move here and come and live and raise their families here, we'd love it, but getting them to stay is a different story. So this young man, he's grown up here, and you would all know the last name, and so that's kind of the plan. He won't be ready until May, which is a long ways out. But right now, there is the state grant, which only funds wages, and the Michigan Works grant will only fund the educational piece. So putting the two of them together is extremely helpful for us from a financial standpoint. And Michigan Works has been fantastic to work with. They've just been great to us. So I'm very thankful for that group. They came and met with us right at the office, and they walk us right through it. So it's really nice. Any questions about the staffing?
Well, what I think you were referring to was the Lyndon Johnson, when he was president, passed the Safe Streets Act, and it was the Law Enforcement Assistance Act, where tuition were paid for people going into colleges for law enforcement.
Sure.
And that did go away, but that's where a lot of us went through, you know, on that. I wouldn't have had the money to go through, you know, 4 years of school. Actually, I went for 6 years, you know, and they paid for, you know, all of the tuitions and all of the costs.
And maybe just to clarify, because maybe not everybody knows, it used to be, and not too long ago, that you could go to a police academy during the evening hours, evenings and weekends, or the late afternoon and evenings, while you're still working full time. And it was a thing. Yeah, some of our guys in-house even did it. they'd take a couple of vacation days mixed in their schedule to make it happen, and you could do that. Well, Michigan changed how they run their academies statewide, and it's Monday through Friday, 40 hours a week, a little bit more than that actually, and for the entire length of the academy. So this changed really people being able to work, maintain any income at all while going to a police academy, which is significant, especially for anyone that has that's working full time in any other vocation and has maybe a family. They can't just quit a job for 6 months and go to school. So that's where this does help, because it allows us to essentially hire them and put them on our payroll while they go to school, and it makes their families able to stay afloat.
And under Sheriff Scheller, the focus that we discussed with the director, there were 3 of us with the director of criminal justice at Ferris, was 2, 3, and 4 years ago, Ferris was graduating 200 plus licensed, ready recruits a year from Ferris. Now they've got 9. What's that gonna do 2 and 3 and 4 years ago for the local law enforcement agencies? I realize 200 isn't a lot, all statewide, but when you drop down to 9, you're only getting 4.5% of what they used to have.
I think there's still some hurt on the staffing side for us down the road to that point, actually. So we'll see.
And that's what this task force wanted to look at, to see, from a local level, not only from the law enforcement people, but from the people in the governmental agencies, like county boards, and city commissions and stuff. What can be done?
I just wanted to let everybody know the generator system was installed last week, all of last week, but really the big transition occurred on Friday morning. We were going to do it earlier in the week, but there was a circuit court jury trial going on midweek that it just threw a whole bunch of kinks in it. So Friday morning, the City of Hart came on with the Energy Solutions, the generator vendor, and they took the way that we currently receive power from the City of Hart, which was by a pole transformer. They moved it to a ground pad transformer at the same time. This was all done by the City of Hart, but it was the right time to do it for obvious reasons. So we incorporated that project in at the same time, and so that it went fairly well. We did have an outage for phones and internet on this side for about an hour that was not anticipated, but we did learn that the UPS, the uninterrupted power supply for our side does last about 2 hours and 45 minutes, sustaining everything, because after that the building went black, and that's when we lost our phones over here. So all that to say, we learned some things out of it. Those things are a bit painful, they always are. One of the issues was that because we have 3-phase power here, the generator that was feeding the building temporarily, along with the City of Hart's new ground pad transformer and the generator, being 3-phase, all those motors have to be turning in the same direction, and one of them was not. So once that got cleared up, we were back off to the races. So, but the generator is in. It's out there loud and proud, so if you drive by, it's right there. They're coming back next week to remove the old generator, the old fuel tank, the old UPS or the transfer switch downstairs, and then we're going to test the transfer switch on the new generator sometime after the courthouse closes midweek next week. So that's that project's wrapping up. Thankfully, it's been a long project. But we're finishing up. The water softener was installed the same week as the generator, so we had lots of guys running through our building for all week long. That water softener, it's the biggest water softener you ever did see, and it takes a lot of salt, lots of salt. So that's up and running. So we have slippery water over there if you'd like to come test it out. A couple of the inmates actually told me that the sinks in the jail are actually running much, much faster. That's interesting feedback. Hopefully the dishwasher and things like that clear up as well. Charter's in our building right now. For whatever it's worth, they've decided that they want to update the cable system citywide, and they wanted us to update our cabling in the building for the entire building. And I told them that's fine, but I'm not pulling the wire in this building. It's horrendous to pull wire in, so they contracted, so they're doing it. So they're pulling new cable throughout the jail. Hopefully that's done in the next week, but they're hot to trot. Charter is to get that done. We have 52 men and women next door currently, so it has been busy in the jail. It's been really busy for whatever reason, but everybody seems to be content. Any other questions?
I have a couple.
Sir?
Where's the old generator going?
So I did look into that. It was in the contract for them to remove it and disperse it. So I after I made mention of it to Jamie, he clarified with me, hey, I thought that was part of this project, that I was going to get rid of it, and I said, well, let's just follow the contract. So
It's gone.
It's gone, and I would imagine if you were interested, he probably would entertain anything. So.
The other question, and actually Mr. Walker has the answer in a conversation he and I had when he did go to Ferris and he went to his reunion over there, and he mentioned the 200 graduates that used to be turned out in criminal justice. Can you tell everyone what they're turning out now?
9.
But I meant in the other field that we talked of.
Software design for virtual gaming. They have 450 students.
Wow.
We'll get shot at doing the game.
You can shoot at people all you want and not get hurt.
You don't get hit.
Yeah. My kid is probably good at it, but I'm probably not the guy.
And the question was asked, the person who asked the question was one of my fellow graduates who retired as the DEA agent in charge for the European Theater. And he was a big player. And his question was to the person that told us that was, and how many years are they going to be able to do that job until the technology changes? And the person running that division said, we hope to. All of this money for a degree in that, you might have 2 years to do the job. Because it changes so much, as anybody knows.
So I might reiterate, if you find the right candidate, grab them.
Yeah.
Just, we gotta grow our own again, and they've gotta wanna come here to live where we live.
Yeah. I completely agree. I've tried recruiting out of the area, and it just hasn't fared well. So I guess I've learned my lesson.
The two candidates, I know the answer to the question, the two candidates that we put through, they're still in hand.
They're still here. They're still doing well. They're on their own. One of them's working today. Yeah, they're doing great. So that's a good. Any other questions? Did I forget anything?
No, just an FYI, you're on finance too.
Oh yes, I have.
Okay, I didn't know if you knew that or
Thank you,
not.
ma'am.
Wanted to point that out.
Any other department heads? All right, any public comment? All right, with that, we will adjourn courts of public safety. Long meeting.
There you go.
Yeah, I just gotta open up the next set here. Okay.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the Finance and Administration Committee. May we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Erickson,
Here.
Mr. McCormick,
Here.
Mr. Beggs,
Here.
Mr. Walker,
Here.
Mr. Hardy.
Here. I ask for approval of the meeting minutes from, I'm going to read them here, special September 24th, 2024 meeting, special October 15th, 2024 meeting, and October 24th, 2024.
Make a motion to approve all three.
Motion by Beggs, support by McCormick. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried. Are there any changes to the agenda? Hearing none, I'll ask for approval of the agenda.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Beggs, second by Erickson. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried. Is there any public comment this time for Finance and Administration Committee? Hearing none, we'll move on. The Administrator Biard, Materials Management appointment of Don Squire with the Arbor Farms.
We've been talking about the materials management appointments, for quite a while. And we had one more appointment to make, for Oceana County's, representative. And, Don Squire said that he is interested in that position. So I am asking that you appoint him as the business owner, pertaining to materials management.
All right, questions or comments? Continuing on, again, Ms. Biard, the Materials Management Committee list approval, 2024-133.
So the Wimserdick is preparing the list from all of the counties that we have in the materials management, and they're asking that the board approve the entire list. So that's what this is, and that list will also include Don Squire. We have, I believe Manistee County has, or Mason County has already approved, and the other three have it on their agenda for approval as well.
Fantastic. Any questions?
I don't see anybody on here from Manistee County.
Not Manistee, Mason.
Mason.
Yes.
Thanks for the clarification.
Mike Smith. Michael Smith. Is Mason County.
Yes, I misspoke.
All right, moving on, MSBR District 10 Health Department Lease Agreement Extension 2024-134.
We have received a notification from the District 10 Health Department requesting that a lease agreement extension be approved for a 5-year period. That has been included in your packet.
That whole, may I, Mr. Hardy?
Yes.
That whole lease agreement was all spelled out in the contract when the third party built the health department buildings for the 9 of the 10 counties, because they didn't have the finance to do it themselves, so we entered into it. And it was all spelled out that there would, there'd be a lease agreement even after the building is paid off. So I think this is just an academic thing that they need to. It came down to, as I've said before, in a county the size of Oceana County would have a very, very difficult time standing alone, having their own inspectors for the wells and the septics and the food services and everything else.
Great. Any other questions or comments? Ms. Biard, you're gonna get a workout, so.
Something like that.
Basement carpet replacement request 2024-135.
So this is an item that has been on the capital improvement list for a few years, even prior to me coming here. And so now that the leaks have been repaired in the basement, we are asking that the carpet be replaced, throughout that, area, and there are two bids in there for you for review. One of which came in at $66,650. And then the other one came in at $82,188.
May I, Mr. Hardy?
Yes, please.
We think the hole in the dike is plugged, but we're not 100% sure. And when Tracy brought this up that she was gonna look at bids, we had a discussion of putting the same type of carpet in the basement that we have in this room that are the modular squares. So if we have a leak, if we do run into a problem, we don't have to, you know, replace and seam sheet goods. We can just replace those squares that get wet. So that's what.
I'm sorry, do we know what was, one of the things I was looking at here, and if you guys actually had an opportunity to look at the quotes, and the one from Herb's Carpet was $25,574 for the material, for just the carpet squares, and the one from West Michigan Carpet was $35,457, which is a $10,000 difference. I tried to look up both of the.
Why don't we get a sample of the carpet from each one of these before we approve it? And take a look at those samples to make sure they're the same density and they're the same. Does that make it?
I can do that. I have seen the carpets. And the reason that one is less is because they have the ability to get, I don't know if you call that discontinued, or they're not making that carpet anymore, or not making that carpet anymore, but it's, so you're getting a lower rate on those carpets, but we've seen them.
So what if we have to replace it a year from now, some sections?
We are getting extra, squares to cover that.
That was, I saw that in the bid. I did look at what Herb's Carpet was giving us. I couldn't find anything online with it at all, probably because it's being discontinued. And I did look at what West Michigan Carpet said, and that had a 5 out of 5 rating.
I can have them bring them both in, and you guys can take a look if you want. That's what you're doing.
Pleasure of the board.
There are some, the other one, not Herb's,
Jared's.
yes. He's been in a couple of different times and brought in some sample carpets of, carpets that were going out as well. So, I don't know if there might be a difference in some other carpets. The last one that was brought in was a gray with a turquoise stripe through it, and I said,
Well, and that brings up a good point.
Yes.
This should not get real difficult to replace the carpeting. But if we're gonna replace the carpeting in people's offices, we should at least show them what the carpet's gonna be before we order it.
The other question I had too was, Herb's Carpet quoted roughly 960 square yards, and the quote for West Michigan Carpet was for 933.
Okay.
Which was 240 square feet less. I don't know if that was just not a lot, but between the two.
It is if you're short and it's discontinued.
Yeah, and I'm assuming, and I didn't find, I guess one of the things, if I read it a little more carefully, that one of them had, if there was doors, they had to be trimmed, that was included. And I couldn't find it on the other one. I don't remember which bid was which, but I can peruse it a little later. But that would, my want would be that they take care of it
What was the difference in price?
66, 650 was the one, and then the other one was 82.
$15,000 difference.
Yeah. But if that's discontinued carpet. Yes.
Yeah, I would just say, that there's no guarantee if we go a current model carpet now that in 5 years, if we need more, that it's not discontinued, but we have a lot better shot at it rather than choosing discontinued right away.
How about if we pass a resolution of purchasing it and we let Buildings and Grounds work with the administrator on which one they're gonna do? To make sure that we're getting the finished product.
Well, and I'm gonna come back to shop local, who's paid taxes in this county for 4 generations? It's been Jared's family. Who's selling open stock, current model, replaceable, and who's selling discontinued? Maybe Jared could get it a little better to make everybody satisfied, but this is another place where the Griffiths family has been here on State Street for 45, 50 years. I'm not going out of county on this.
Would it be reasonable to pass a resolution not to exceed the higher price and let the Building and Ground Committee work with the administrator to look at it and evaluate and see which one works better?
And if Craig said it was 5-star, 5 out of 5-star stuff,
Yeah.
What are we dealing with? Are we dealing with a Yugo and a Chevrolet, or are we dealing with a Ford and a Cadillac?
Well, there obviously has to be some difference because
Yeah.
it's,
The material cost.
Well,
yeah,
I
it's
just
almost
want-
10 grand in difference in
Yeah.
just the carpets. Where
Well, I want you to know he bid off of what we selected, so when they brought their samples in, we had selected the one, and that's what he bid off of, so it's not, we can ask for a different carpet through them to have them rebid it, if that's what you like.
I think if we pass the motion to not exceed and then
With the Buildings and Grounds.
let them, and I guess that kind of with Paul, I'd probably like to keep it in the county.
I'm not gonna, I've known the Griffiths family too long to let something get in the way of this. We're comparing apples to oranges right now.
Right.
Well, and I appreciate, Mr. Hardy, you bringing it up. The difference of them.
Yeah, my preference would be to go with a local vendor as well. I haven't had a lot of carpet installed, but when I do, I call them. And they, it's my hole in the wall office at my shop. That's it. But they did a nice job, and it was good quality carpet that's held up to a much harsher environment that this stuff's going to see. So.
And if the leak is fixed, it could be there for 30 years.
Right. Yeah. So let's not put any cheap.
Well, I could sell you 2 different qualities of paint and it'd look good for a year, and after 4 years, you'd be coming back to me and asking me what went wrong.
So does that work?
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Mr. Beggs, are you happy with the higher bid, accepting it?
Yeah.
It looks like that's what we do then. The only thing is, I still would like to see, did the people who in downstairs have any input on any of this at all?
No.
I'd
But I
like
can
to
get- I
have
can
them
get with the
at
officers.
least approve a design color or whatever.
Or 3.
Yeah. Well,
I-
who?
I think it needs to be uniform down there.
Well, that's good
yeah.
too.
It needs to be uniform, but when we're getting down to that expenditure, let's just get run it past
The
the
general
employees.
consensus.
Get a consensus
Yeah,
from the employees.
Yeah, but I don't want to see one color in one office and one color in the hallways and another.
I don't want somebody to come back and to the county commissioners and saying, this is not any reflection on the administrator's office at all, because the administrator is making this happen. I don't want it to come back to us that they went and picked what we don't like.
Right.
You know.
I believe it was this color.
I'd also
or
remind them it's
something
not their
close to
living room.
Well,
Yes.
but you know what I'm saying, Tim.
Yeah.
You know.
well, and for a guy, I'll tell you what I know about paint and cars and colors. You always let your wife decide.
Well, everybody who is sitting at this table has heard me say that in my career selling building materials, when people said, what color do you think I need to put on the siding of this house? It was the same answer all the time, whatever the lady at the house likes. Don't get into those things.
Just pay the bill.
Yeah, I'm good with that if everybody is,
Right.
you know, maybe not to exceed, the 82, 188.
Okay, Ryan had something to
We'll
say.
award it to West Michigan.
Okay,
You want a different color?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry, and I don't want to interrupt into the conversation here, but just to let you know, we have a similar quote situation that was approved during the budget process for our basement flooring, the 1960s asbestos tiles. So just to let you know I'm working with facilities and Mr. Sanderson on a quote that has very similar outcome as you're seeing right now.
Okay.
So just wanted to let you know if that has any bearing on the conversation, but that's probably a $10,000 difference as well. Whatever it's worth.
Let's award the bid and let the people select it. Make sure that, let them know before we open the call.
so my question to you is, are we looking at one color for the entire basement?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I need to know.
Absolutely.
Thank goodness.
Just so it goes with your bag and shoes, that's all I'm worried about.
I'm not worried about that part.
It won't be white.
I was going with something like what is in here, so,
Yeah. Light beige.
because that's what we have in the office. It's-
Right.
Be
Yeah.
dark.
I want dark,
I think there's something to be said for uniformity.
yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right, moving on.
That's over.
The next one.
Mr. McKean, Parks and Recs, Black Lake, ARPA funds reallocation.
After that discussion, I declined.
Did-
I want the aqua in the basement, that would be festive and lively.
Make it fun, huh?
That'd be fun.
Set the timer, please.
I can do 3 minutes, whatever. So, on October 16th, I was instructed by the Parks Group to write a letter to the county commissioners, which I believe you have in your packet.
Yes.
You might have had it 2 weeks ago, actually. We're asking for a reallocation of funding that was already approved. This is at Black Lake. As you go through the letter, I won't go through it, but we did hire Pam Blau from PM Blau at Grand Haven, who is a registered landscape architect. She drew up a really good plan. Wasn't necessarily what we wanted totally, but we agree with the plan as far as extending the southern part of the park. So for Joel, if you're familiar with this property, it's a 100-acre piece. The campground is a 14-site piece, and there's about a 37-acre lake roughly in that area. There's a lot of unused property that we're not using very efficiently or not at all. So what we're asking for is we decided through Parks not to build the shelter at this point, which would be more in the campground area. We're still wrestling with the long-term ability of 14 sites. It's not really an economically feasible part of it, but that's another discussion for another day. Long story short, we'd like to reallocate the balance of $33,918, which is already allocated. And we'd like to use that for the trail extension in the southern part of the town of the park, which would allow us to build out the 1,400-foot trail, which would be a nice big loop. If you've not ever been out to that part of the area, it's a gorgeous area, a lot of old growth trees, a lot of little hills and dales. It's going to be an interesting, fun time to build a trail through there, which we hope to have as much as we can as ADA accessible. So all we're asking for is reallocation of funding is already there, and we'd just like your permission to move that over to that side.
Any questions? I think, Gary, that if you guys make the decisions to move that money, you know where it does the best. So I don't have an issue with it. You've already budgeted.
Yeah, and we stayed at that park this summer. My wife was the manager, resident manager, so I spent majority of my time at that park, and it is one of the most beautiful pieces of real estate out east. It's that 37-acre lake. We've planted hybrid bluegill in it. It has daily fishermen in it. We've got pike, that the 30-inch pike. The bald eagles fish. They have a nest on the far side of the lake. But what Gary had said with this 1,400-foot walkway that Joel Michelson and I measured off and marked on the deer trail that circles around the lake, you find these old growth oak trees back there that you can't put your arms around them, and a forest trail that's in there, an early drainage ditch. Most of Colfax and Levitt Township was drained because it was all a swamp, but it's the most beautiful piece of woods with water. And we find a lot of kayakers that have come out and really enjoyed this kayaking, day people. And so this would give them parking, an area, they can launch their kayaks, and it's 1,400 foot in, and we'll put a dock out there so the kayakers can land at this spot also. So it's a day park, and it'll serve more people immediately, within a short period of time for activities beyond a picnic basket. Yeah. So I'm very excited about it. And I think this reallocation of that money is the right thing to do. And thank you, Mr. McKean, for the time and effort that Gary's put into this.
Just one simple question. Paul and Gary, you've both seen the property, the rest of us haven't seen it. Is it going to be a doable? It's not like you're gonna need an amphibious vehicle or something to put the walkway in, you're gonna
No, so there'll be areas that will actually be gravel material that will be on, we'll call it dry land. But there will be some bridging that'll have to be done, some wood boardwalks already. I've already talked to a couple of retired carpenters. They're interested to bid on it. And a lot of guys like to build stuff like that. It's the walkway is gonna be much like we built at Gales Pond 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It goes through the east side of the park. But yeah, it's gonna be fun to have that. And what it'll do is it'll really help the Parks and Recreation on the east side of the county. We just don't have a lot of parks out that way. We'd love to find some type of a area that we could get into the White River on the Sperry area, which would be county-owned parks property, that we could actually have a rollaway of some type for kayaking and boating and fishing and stuff. Well, one thing I learned, you don't talk about fish in a pond, like a trout stream. The fishermen get really angry about, don't give away our spots. We don't have any northern pike in Black Lake.
Most guys that are putting their boat on the trailer, I ask them, how did it go? And they go, oh no, it's not very good at all. I didn't catch anything. And you see them come tomorrow.
Okay, Mr. McGee, you want also the Planning Commission appointment, 2024-141?
I can do that. We've had 3 openings in the Planning Commission very quickly. John Voss, as I've already had a conversation about, he's taken additional leadership with Trinity in the Grand Haven Hospital as well as Shelby. And another board member had to resign due to health issues. But we were able to have Phil Morris pivot from the seat over to my right into the seat over on the left. So Phil is now on board. We had 2 applicants for the open seat. We decided that Aaron McGregor would fit the responsibility the best. I have talked to the other candidate. He's in the process of doing some consulting work out of state, but I would like to keep him on the list. He's a retired physician and could really give us a lot of help going forward in the Planning Commission. So the approval of Aaron. Aaron is new to Oceana County in the last several years. He's from Kent County and has a good background in working for the county of Kent in the administrative office. Has a good background in statistics and things of that nature. So I think she'll be a good fit for our board, and she's willing to be present at our meetings and so on. So we'll be welcoming, hopefully we'll be welcoming Aaron McGregor. Joel McCormick is also on our board, and Gary McKean. So now we have the mixer taking over. So we'll make it work.
Can I ask what that other name is?
Sure, his name is Mike Kramer. He lives down in Claybanks Township, and he is actually more involved in the medical records business. So he worked for Spectrum for many years and led that medical ethics, medical records part of the business. Apparently Spectrum downsized that whole department and went outside to do that, which they're seeing in a lot of health areas. But he and his wife relocated into Oceana 3 or 4 years ago. Mike has been active with the Conservation District on Zoom. He's not a board member, but he does attend meetings, and he's interested in having the county go forward. So, and Aaron's, Aaron in her respect as well is also moving here, has moved here. So we have some people that know the value of Oceana County, and it's love to have our younger kids stay here, but they come back or they're new to the county. That's important.
And this would be the same Aaron McGregor, I know?
Probably, yeah.
Anyone else? Thank you, Gary. Ms. Biard, amendment health insurance plan motion for prescription coverage under 2024-130.
So, as part of our county government, when we're working through bids and those types of things, we like to make sure that we're doing our due diligence and getting bids so that we're saving the county money. So Jennifer informed me that she did get the second bid she was looking for the prescription coverage, and she wasn't sure she was going to be able to get that. And Arrow RX actually came in less than what MedTipsters did, and I'm also familiar with this company as well because I've worked with both of them. So I'm just asking for that change.
Any questions?
Yeah. I'm very leery on this health insurance and this prescription insurance. My phone has rung right off the hook. I had stated that I wanted the department head to be contacted on Friday after the last one, and something happened, and something's gone south. I think you have a meeting with one of the people today, don't you?
We have a meeting with department heads today, and we also have a meeting with the unions today.
I don't know where the misinformation or the lack of information is coming from, but is this the
Arrow RX?
Is that the one that we have, that you have the meeting with today?
We have a meeting with Jennifer and Arrow RX. They are going to be here to answer questions. And I know that we have an individual that's leery about this, but I am going to tell you that I've worked with, we did this for 3 years in Clare County, and it works. It has nothing to do with the health insurance piece. And people are still able to get their prescriptions at the pharmacy just like they do now. That is not changing. The only thing that it's looking at is those higher formulary prescriptions. It's looking at that to save the employee and the county money. That's the only difference.
And as you know, I'm told it's not saving them money. And I got it for more than one employee, more than one person.
Well, how do they know that it's not gonna save them money if?
I don't think we wanna go any farther in this than the statement that I said at the last meeting, that on Friday after that meeting, I wanted all of the people department heads spoke to about it.
action on this until they meet with department heads, or?
We probably have to have something.
There's a meeting this afternoon at 3:00.
But when does this take in effect? Is it for the new, I don't know what the, is it a fiscal
Open
year?
enrollment isn't until the beginning of next month. That's when it will take effect.
Okay. Would you prefer to do that?
We're gonna have to take action. It's our only meeting.
Oh,
Before the
that's
first of the
right, there's
month.
no meeting for Thanksgiving.
We can vote on it.
So
Right.
my request is that you take action if we find that there's going to be an issue after meeting with employees and department heads, because I believe that the employees should also be involved, not just department heads, that there should be meetings with Jennifer to be able to look at the specific prescriptions so that they can determine if there is going to be a savings there, if there's gonna be issues. And if we find that it's gonna be more of a problem, then we don't make the change. But I would like to say that if you don't make the change, employees will be paying more out of pocket out of their paycheck, because we won't be able to reduce those costs.
We state it in such a way that we, approve the switch pending the outcome of this meeting. Allow the administrator to approve the correct plan in the best interest of the county and the employees.
I think that's fair.
What's in the best interest of the employees?
So this amendment would basically give you the option to switch if you need to. All right. Moving on, SBR medical examiner appointment 2024-143.
So it has come to my attention, I thought we did this last year.
Paul Wagner.
Nope, it was,
Rudy Oaks.
Yes.
It was Rudy again.
And, evidently it went through the committee, but did not go through the regular board meeting. So I'm asking that you appoint him again,
Reaffirm him.
please.
Okay. All right. Under Sheriff Schiller, finally. Transfer of electric, forest funds from the general fund to the public safety fund 2024-144.
Yes, good morning. I apologize that this slipped through a month ago or a few weeks ago anyways. This is the second year in a row that Electric Forest Festival has just made a generous contribution to the Sheriff's Office for basically the assistance and so on and so forth associated with the festival coming to town. So I don't know if they electronic fund transferred or if it was by paper check, because I didn't see it. But it got this $9,700 got deposited in the general fund, and I'm just asking. I asked the treasurer if we could just move it into the 205 fund, which is a public safety fund, so it didn't fall off the charts last year. This wasn't an issue because I had a project immediately identified, and we replaced our radio over in the sheriff's office. So that being said, it's just the timing being the end of the year. I don't have a project right now to pull the trigger on to do that, whereas if we get into a little bit of next year, it would be a little bit easier. But Fund 205 is a public safety fund that was created by the state last year, or 2023, and those funds are specified for public safety. So I just, the treasurer informed me that it had to come to the board because of board policy of general fund 205. That's all.
Any question?
Any transfer of funds from the general fund to a specific fund has to be approved. And I think it's great, but I just hope that we're following our county policy that we adopted, previous board members on donations or contributions from outside people. We do have a policy on that.
Yes. There's a form and.
Yep.
So, anytime there's a contribution, they complete the form and we send it out.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Biard, administrator review of selected claims for payment and administrator report.
So the claims are included in the packet for you. Does anybody have any changes or any questions on those at all? Okay. If not, oh, go ahead.
Just 1 minute. You know, as we see on the top of this, there was $13,080 that we paid for first responders just in this month alone. And that's what I was referring to.
Yeah.
You know, that we have to keep an eye on for those class 3 runs. Thank you, Mr. Hardy.
Okay, administrator's report, just a couple of things. We had, a short conversation about a tractor for the airport. I had been talking with Joel about that. He had went out and we were looking at a used one and Joel took a look at that and said, that's really, we need to keep looking, basically. So, Mr. Walker had stated that there were funds through the airport that, we should be able to use to get, a tractor for the airport. However, it had to be for, those grant funds had to be used for a brand new tractor. And we were told that we couldn't use it for anything used. However, we had a meeting, with MDOT, earlier this week, and we have been informed that there are funds through the Michigan Department of Transportation that they are going to allow us to use funds from those for a brand new tractor. So even though we are on a provisional license right now, we will still be able to use those funds for a brand new tractor for that facility.
With all of the hours that gets put on out there.
And I did go out, I met with Kurt and looked at that one for $50,000 and just kind of shaking your head going.
Lots of rust.
I will inject one other thing. I did stop and talk with the undersheriff and Detective Hanson because they have a military, what you call it officially, surplus. And gave Kurt Dodge's cell number just to see if there was something available. The only problem is that a lot of that stuff isn't that small, it's big. It's like for cleaning Kent County Airport. But he's been in contact, I think, with Donnie, and maybe there's something they could come up with there too. If not, then the other route, but I think it's a lot of use. Yeah.
Well, and it might not cover as much as it normally covers on buying equipment, but normally if we do grants from the Department of Transportation for snow removal equipment or any of that, our pay is like 20% of the cost or something really minor.
Which is still probably in the long run cheaper than buying the used reconditioned.
And they also, just to let you know, the grant funds that we received through MDOT were at 90%. There was a 10% match through the county, and they have bumped that to 95%. So we're only having to match 5%, which was very nice. So the other thing I wanted to point out is that Wimserdeck contacted me about grant funds for repairing dams. And as you know, the grant funds that have come through Eagle have been mostly for those critical dams that they've been looking at. However, Aaron did say that, the Fish and Wildlife, if we got them involved with regards to Crystal Valley Dam, that we may have a better shot at, obtaining some grant funds to fix that. So we have a meeting scheduled, a Zoom meeting scheduled with, Windsor Dick and the Fish and Wildlife, on Friday. I've invited Paul, Lee Heislip and, James Tiffany. James unfortunately is not able to make it because he'll be flying at that point, but, we will be letting him know what happens with that meeting, so, that meeting's taking place on Friday.
Yep, I've always figured there was gonna be a way. And the bigger part of this whole thing is that when we met with the Department of the Interior out at Crystal Valley Dam, aside from it being a historic dam that should be preserved, it also serves as an eel barrier. And they're spending a lot of money on eels all over the Great Lakes to stop the damage from the eel. And when he got out and looked at the dam, he said, "This is perfect. We bring in structures to save these. All ours would need is a little modification at the top to make it just a touch harder for an eel to get over. But at this time, the salmon can't get up it and over it. We haven't had that issue. So, no, I'm really tickled. Jim was tickled. The people I know in the dam industry. It's been a factor that was overlooked in this entire equation when it was thought removing the dam was a good idea. Otherwise, we'll be removing your dam on Heart Lake next, and there'll be more dams coming.
They did say there's no guarantee that we would get it, but, this will be having to try, and, I'm sure Windsor will, help us with getting that grant.
Yeah, and John Wilson's on our Parks and Rec board too. He has an understanding of it, and it's not rocket science. We've got many contractors in Oceana County that do this work. Halleck's and Wadles and Adams and Hardman up in Ludington. It's driving a little bit of sheet and it's pouring a little bit of mud. It's not rocket science.
Just wanted to talk about the budget a little bit. If you noticed, the spreadsheets that I provided had some highlights on some of the departments that had went over. You had requested that. The ones that were highlighted in orange, those are departments that we pay those, we pay for those items ahead of time, your insurance and those types of things, and those are gonna be over. There were 3 of them that were over that I wanted to point out, the reason for that, and, that those will be fixed. The county treasurer's budget, the wages in there, as the board had approved for, that department to be at 40 hours, plus they had approved for an additional person. I hadn't made those adjustments to that yet, because, they had an employee that had left and was, that freed up some of those funds for a couple months, so I wanted to see where that was gonna fall, so I haven't made that adjustment yet. Transfer station, the insurance is slightly over right now, which was self-funding, you never know where that's going to fall, so I have to make a short, small adjustment there. And then the medical examiner, wages are over by a little bit because of some investigations, but that's funds that can be moved right within that department. So, did anybody have any questions on any of those?
Thank you.
Is that what you were looking for? Okay, perfect. Okay.
Any department head reports at this time? Mr. McKinney.
Recently, at a road commission meeting I attended, I was told by Mark Timmer that the county road commission would like to repave the driveway into Cedar Point Park. So I had the opportunity to have Mark Timmer and Jeff, I don't remember Jeff's last name, he's foreman for the road commission, and also with Pete Lundborg, and we met out at the park. And we talked about the opportunity to create some new parking out there, which would be parallel to the existing road. People are parking on it already, What they would like to do is potentially bring slag in, so it makes it a little more firm, and they're not in the sand in what I would call the grass area. It also goes along in correlation with our upgrade of Cedar Point Park for ADA. So we'll be working with the road commission, probably won't see a quote from them because it's deer season, and he said maybe in January. So we'll be looking at that. So I wanted to say also thank you to the commissioners for putting an extra money into our capital fund, $25,000 each year for the next 4 years. We are looking at projects that will enhance the county parks in a large way. Cedar Point Park is the top of the list. We're getting that up to snuff and finished. Also, out of Gales Pond and Doolittle in coordination, we're having Pam Blau from PM Blau company down in Grand Haven, which I talked about earlier, come and do a park review of those two parks. There are opportunities that we can grow those two parks. It's two of our parks that are used very heavily by the public, along with Cedar Point. And lastly, over at Doolittle, we had this last fall, just ended last Thursday, we had 17 knee-high naturalists and their parents out there 2 days a week, 3-year-olds walking through the water in cold water. Like, okay, you need your shoes on. No, I like just walking in the cold water. It's fine. So, but it's a great opportunity. It's a great park for viewing. The fall colors are now gone, but it's a really well-traveled park. That's it today.
Thank you, Gary. All right, any public comment for Finance and Administration Committee at this time? Hearing none, we will adjourn the Finance and Administration Committee and take a short break before we start the regular board meeting.
Stand? Yeah. Of course, no.